Hey, what's up, guys? Jay Martin here. So, today we're gonna talk about what you shouldn't do. But not only that, because it's very self limiting talking about your should nots, isn't it? It's not very compelling. It's hard to move forward with that. So, we're not just gonna talk about what you shouldn't do, let's also talk about what you're going to gain, the rewards from it, so it excites you and it pulls you. What this all boils down to is our habits. Habits shapes us. We are our habits. Our habits defines who we are. I'm not gonna extend this video any longer than it should be. Let's just get straight to the point. But if you're interested in a video where I debunk all these habits and its utility, subscribe to the channel. It's all going to be here, and you won't regret it.
To barmaids, you don't count.
Alright, so if you want to have that alpha mentality, let's just start with the don'ts before we get to the do's or the musts. As far as we know, if you want to be an alpha, look, I don't know what your biggest aspirations are, but if you don't have any big dreams or a clear vision, then this video isn't really for you anyways. There's no moral judgment on you, but if you want to fit in with societal standards, just follow what the majority is doing. In fact, it's rad to coast and chill out, right? But if you want to live and embody someone who actually does shit and get things done in life, you gotta hunker down on these few things as much as possible. The only question is, where do you want to go? And what's the price you're willing to pay to get there? So for this video, we're going to talk about three things. Three simple things, and we're going to graze on a couple things as well that are really important. So make sure your ears are wide open and think, alright? Think about it. Will this work for me? Will this not work for me? Open yourself to being changed. That's the only way you'll learn anything. These things aren't very complicated, but are very fundamental. We'll discuss about them, and next time we can go into more habits and dive deeper. Let's just keep it simple because complexity is the enemy of execution. So three things. You gotta start nofap. You gotta delete your social medias, and you gotta quit pointless internet browsing. And I know what you're thinking. Why delete your social medias? I understand. For some of you, it might not be so realistic, but we'll uncover that in a bit, so bear with me. Alright, so why these three things? I have a video where I go deeper into nofap. I do support that movement, but my thing is that it's for one main reason, and it builds your discipline. Go engage and talk to that chick if you want. Big up to you, man, but you gotta let go of the site that starts with a P and ends with a hub, alright? Fapping and letting go of the seed is one of the most pleasurable things we can do in life. Human evolutionary psychologists could argue that that is the main reason why we're here, is to procreate. And some of you might say, man, but it's hard. What?
You're getting soft, brother. Soft and weak.
Of course it's supposed to be hard. Your body naturally has the urge to do it. It's why you're here, but the way you're doing it isn't in an organic fashion. Look at how powerful your mind is. Your mind is so powerful you can even close your eyes, think about it, and get aroused. And the brain doesn't know the difference between the experience in real life and the experience in what you're looking at in your screen. And so if you keep tricking your brain into thinking that you're procreating, you're just ruining your dopamine system. And I digress into speaking more in depth about this. You can check out my video on nofap, but there's this quote that I heard, and I'll just read it out to you guys, but it says, "Comfort is a drug. Once you get used to it, it becomes addicting. Give a man constant sex, good food, and cheap entertainment, and he'll throw his ambitions right out the window. The comfort zone is where dreams go to die." I have a mental crutch in my head that I've been constantly using. Take it as a reminder from one man to another. And feel free to share this to the boys, right? But don't try to seek comfort. Earn it. So, why quit social media? Now, this isn't for everyone. I understand that. Maybe a more realistic habit is to limit your social media consumption. But for me, I think that if you don't make money online, if you're not an influencer or some sort, or have an online business, there's no need to have a social media presence, right? Like, what does it do for you, honestly? aside from taking input from other people's lives, which could be useful, but a lot of people just take it out of proportion by endless scrolling in their newsfeed, which isn't productive. And that's just a fact. Just take a second to think about it. In most cases, you're beating yourself up, comparing yourself to other people, and it's just a status game for the most part. How many followers does he have? How many followers does she have? Oh, I'm cooler than this guy. Oh, look at what this guy's doing. He's doing some big stuff. Why can't I be like that? Hopefully, you see my point here. Ultimately, you're programming yourself for disappointment. Instead, however, leverage the internet for gaining knowledge. There's an abundance of useful information in the internet. Use it for that. But for the most part, let go of status games. Other people's opinion don't matter. Other people's progress or judgments has nothing to do with you. And it took me a while to really grasp that idea. It sounds so simplistic. I always said I didn't care, but deep inside, there was always a small percentage of me that sort of did. In the macro, I didn't care. But in the micro, I did feel a little hurt if someone was being critical of me. I did care of some things, but it all went away since I let go of being in social media platforms. And it's been over a year already, and it's been great. I talk more about it in another video I have. Feel free to check it out if you want, because I know this one will be a game changer for you if you haven't already done so. So, no pointless internet browsing is pretty self-explanatory. We don't necessarily need to dive into that. So, let's just get into our musts, what we should do, and what we're going to gain from that, right? This is the exciting part, because it's where you feel the self-improvement really coming together, creating more structure into your well-being and dialogue. Here's one thing I want you guys to write down in your head or in a notebook. I suggest both. Outwork everybody so substantially that people stop debating if they're even in the same solar system as you. Your dream requires a mental switch, not a tactic. Strategies are cool and all, but once you realize your mind is what separates you from others, all that matters is developing your mind. Mentality is mentality. You gotta believe that you're the best and you're the baddest. But that also means that you have to realize that you're not. And that you have to be nice. Because karma and being a human being is practical.
And the only way to guarantee peace is by making the prospect of war seem hopeless. If you apologize once, you do it again and again and again.
So here's what you should do. Assuming you execute the don'ts, you're not spending those extra 30 to 45 minutes on dirty websites. You're not scrolling down your newsfeed for a total of 2 hours a day. You're not spending 3 hours watching cat videos or videos of people eating spicy noodles. You just bought yourself more time. So there's no excuses anymore. I'll just keep this very, very simple because it doesn't need much of explanation. Consume books, alright? If you don't like physical books, no problem. Listen to audiobooks. While you're driving, while you're walking around, working out, cooking meals, whatever, listen to audiobooks. I prefer that over podcasts. Watch CEO interviews. Pick their minds. Podcasts are great too, but they're more for play, if you know what I mean. But do that and consume educational content, just like this channel. This channel ain't the best. It isn't the most engaging or fancy, but you're a byproduct of your environment, right? What your influences are, what you watch, what you listen to, who you listen to, it alters your behavior. And maybe this is just an opinion. Actually, it is. But you know why educational videos or videos that have a learning aspect to it don't get viral in the ratio of all these other videos that do? Like, there's literally videos of super accomplished people speaking or dropping these insanely valuable one-liners of their biggest mistakes or biggest lessons, but yet those videos get 2 views. Why? Because no one wants to hear the truth, man. Everyone just wants to see a video of someone falling down or some guy doing something dumb. It's funny though. This is very important. Get a notebook And no, not the app on your phone. Get an actual notebook and write all the important things you learn and put it down there. All of it. Write down the source of that information. If it's a book, what book, which page. If it's a YouTube video, write down the title of the video. Once you have a collection of all these key takeaways, that is going to be your treasure. I've been doing this for over a year, and in just the span of a year, it's done incredible wonders. I wish I've done it sooner. The greatest advantage you have over anyone else is your mind, right? What makes a man is his mind. Everything else you can find in a pig or a horse. Next is growth journaling or gratitude journaling. Since you have a notebook, might as well start growth journaling. Write down 3 things each day. 3 sentences, 3 things that you're proud of. It can be anything. Maybe you started reading this new book, or completed today's workout, had a meaningful conversation with your lover. Anything. Just 3 things. There's research about being in a state of gratitude. It colors every area of your life. It's so simple and profound. I look back at my growth journal every once in a while and I just think, damn, look how far I've gone. And like, whoa, so this was what I achieved this day, or this was when I did that, or when I did this. You know what I mean? There's a lot of mental health benefits to it, and it's truly amazing and beneficial. So my last one for you guys ties into core values. So we talked about being a human, and what I mean by this is practicing empathy and being compassionate. So as people, emotions dominate. We're naturally very emotional, even though we try to act rational. We get annoyed, we get frustrated, we get angry, we get happy. And practicing empathy and being compassionate and holding yourself in a positive state are skills that are very difficult to build. They're not things that you're going to build by reading one book and then you're like, aha. So I don't believe in this epiphany theory of self-help or self-development where you read some book, you have an incredible epiphany, and you read one phase and it sticks. And you think that's how you're going to act for the rest of your life now, just because that quote is now on your phone screen or your computer screen and so on. Life doesn't work that way. What you kind of have to do is build skills from the ground up. So I think being compassionate is a skill, empathy is a skill, being positive is a skill, self-awareness is a skill, and skills get built up over years, even decades, by feedback loops. And you'll be tested whether you've truly internalized them or not. But what's important for us to understand is that all these virtues come to us naturally. It just takes a lot of practice to be good at it. A person who holds a who cares attitude doesn't have a human heart. Many of us are guilty to have this who cares attitude, but I think that's entirely false because love and kindness is instilled to us in our DNA. For example, if a young child were to fall into a well, you'd naturally go and try to save the child. You don't have to love the child to save them. You'll save them because of how you instinctively care to your core. And this just shows that compassion is present in everyone, but you'll be put in high-stakes situations where integrity will be tested. You'll be put in situations where you'll be surrounded by aggressive people. When it comes to being an alpha male, most people would assume that they're more aggressive, they're more manly. Losing your temper is a sign of weakness. Nobody gets yelled at and think, wow, that was really cool.
Get the fuck in.
Wow, the way my boss yelled at me at work today really impressed me with the way he yelled. So, if you can't control your emotions, it's a sign of weakness. Because how can you make good decisions? So, recognize that losing your temper is a sign of weakness. Recognize that when you're yelling, people's respect for you literally goes down. If you can't control your emotions, how can you control your decisions? There's a difference between masculinity and manliness. Masculinity is raw. It's that raw masculine testosterone, hormones running through your veins. that combative and competitive nature that determines that level of masculinity. Manliness, however, is taking it, refining it, and producing effective outcomes. And all that long winded, that being said, this gives me the opportunity to point out the difference between being aggressive and being assertive, and why it's so important for men to be assertive. Aggression comes from emotion. Aggression comes from a sense of being frustrated and not future thinking about what's going to happen. Aggression always carries baggage with it. Assertion is calm, it's cool, it's stoic, and ultimately, the cooler person controls the dynamic. Remember that. The cooler person controls the dynamic. Controlling the dynamic gives you more leverage. It's all about the advantage that determines the end result. So, assertion is clear, it's calm, it's cool, and it's logical. In a situation where you're dealing with someone aggressive, you can be aggressive too, but then it becomes a battle of emotional beta male behavior, right? All bark, no bite. Most people, in most instances, won't bite, so better be assertive. Make the case intelligently with reasoning along the way. So, a good tip is to look at your mind at all times. So, my last and final advice is also the best piece of advice other than to be mindful and aware when you're engaging with conflict. And that's just to don't associate with high conflict people. We all know people in our lives we just tend to be a little more angry, a little more judgmental towards because they're always in a fight with somebody else. If you see someone who is always fighting with somebody else, they're eventually going to fight you. So for me, I've slowly cut those people out of my life. And whether it's friends or even family members, depending on the situation, it's not in an overly explicit way, like bye Johnny or bye Susan, bye mom and dad, but just by choosing to hang out with them less and less. There are plenty of smart, successful, kind, and happy people in the world, and you just have to make space for them in your life by letting the people who still have lessons to learn drift off and go learn their lessons. It's not your job to educate them. I used to want to change people, like change my friends, but there's this quote that I find to be true, and it's to always lend a helping hand, guide them, but don't try to teach a pig how to fly. Because one, you can't do it, and two, it bothers the pig. Sometimes dependent people sort of have this demeanor about them, like a drowning person where they're thrashing and making a big scene, but if you grab them and try to save them, unless you're an extremely independent person yourself, you're going to drown too. So I would say a good rule of thumb of handling conflict is don't hang around people who are constantly engaging in conflict. So I don't know if that's a good way to end this video, but if you enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe because that'll tell me you guys want to see more of this and I'll send more your way. Just don't forget to hit that notification bell. And it'll make me very happy to have a community of people talking about interesting topics like this. So with that being said, I hope to see you in the next one. Peace and love.
Save the barber for Sundays, eh? I can charm dogs. Gypsy witchcraft.